Good morning, everyone. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Mark Jackson. Mark has appeared on season 5 of Poldark as the spy Burkett. He has worked as a supporting actor with walk-on, background, and feature roles. He has worked primarily in theater and is the founder of the new Anthem Theatre based in Oxford, England. They will be performing a new play in April. We all know him as the loyal butler to Lady Denham, Higgs. He has appeared in all 3 seasons.
There I am. Yes, let me just move that slide. Okay. Yes.
There we
Hi,
go.
how are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm very, very good. Thank you. Yeah, let me just get a good position. Okay. Right. Yes. Yes, very good indeed. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to do this. And
Oh
great,
my
appreciate
gosh.
it.
I
Is that
have
getting in the way? Is that getting in the way or is it okay?
no. It's perfect. It's
Good, good,
perfect.
good, good.
So, behalf of myself and the Sanditon fandom, I want to thank you very, very much for joining me today. We really appreciate it. And we have, I don't know whether or not you realize how much we covet your posts on
I
Twitter.
did.
I'm sorry, I
I
can't
did.
call it X.
Thank Twitter one. Yes, no, I did. Thank you though for that. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Yes, I did notice that. Yes.
So let's get started. When
Okay.
did you know that you first wanted to be a performer?
Um, High school. I was very, very fortunate at my high school. I'm from Yorkshire, which is in the north of England, and I was very, very fortunate to have a head of drama, a guy called John Godber, who is a very, very successful playwright. I think he, at one point, he was the most performed British playwright in history behind Shakespeare and Alan Ayckbourn. Of
Wow.
course, at the time, he was just starting out. He was head of drama at my high school and inspired me really to take up acting. He then went on to be artistic director of a Northern Theatre company. And I went on to do various other things and what have you. But yeah, I think it was at high school. It was really due to John. I actually met up with him last year. I saw him at one of his performances at the Stephen Joseph Theatre in Scarborough, which is theatre in the round, very famous theatre. And I had a good chat with him, and we reminisced about the old days because we're from the same village.
Okay.
It's a mining village in Yorkshire, although there are no mines there anymore. And we reminisced about that. And I knew his sister. We were in the same year at school and what have you. So we had a really good chat. It was great to catch up with him all those years later. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So you obviously you performed in plays in school.
I did. Yeah, I
Okay.
did. Yeah, yeah. I was. I think the one that stands out for me was that I was in Sweeney Todd, and I played Colonel Eustace Jeffrey at the time, and I remember having a lot of fun with that. Yeah, a lot of fun with that. And of course, we were able to perform some of John Godber's very early plays as well, Cramp, and I also knew about his Olivier-winning work later on.
Oh,
A play called Bouncers,
mhm.
which is one of his plays as well. So I had a taste of that type of what was to become very famous theatre over the next sort of few decades. Yeah,
Wow, that's
but
amazing.
yeah, yeah, school productions. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what
Very,
was
very. Yeah.
the first play that you did after high school?
That would have been a play called Here We Go by Carol Churchill, which we did in Oxford a few years ago now. And it was done by the Oxford Playhouse Theatre Company at the time, which I was a part of. Um, the play is rather unusual. I don't know if you've read Carol Churchill's Here We Go. It's a play where um, you, you're able to actually create your own characters because the characters within the play are not named as such, and so you're able to sort of improvise around the characters, and that's what I did. And I came up with the character of Michael Lamb. I think on one of your collages there, you have a picture of me in a green vest, and
Right.
that's Michael. That's Michael Lamb from Here We Go. The wonder of that play was that we performed it at the Burton Taylor Studio in Oxford, which is a very famous part of the Oxford Playhouse, which has been around for many, many years. I think Dame Maggie Smith performed there in 1936. Richard Burton performed there in 1969, which is why it became the Burton Taylor Studio. And then later on, I think in 70, 71, Elizabeth Taylor performed there as well. It was at the time when the studio, Richard Burton was actually doing a course in Oxford at one of the universities, a 6-month course that he did there. I'm not sure the details of that, but he performed there, and it took its name from Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. So it was great to be in that space. Those boards, as they say, once trod by the famous Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. So that was fantastic. That was really, really great. But it was Carol Churchill's "Here We Go." Mm.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did you get into, from theater, how did you get into the supporting acting and the acting?
I think just curiosity, really. I wanted to sort of experience TV and film. I was a really big film fan, bit of a film buff and what have you, and I wondered what it would be like to be in TV and film. And for me, the best route into that, I felt, was to start to do background work or support artist work, etc. What have you. So I signed up with a few agencies, and really that's how it started for me. Just really signing up to agencies and being offered work and what have you, and taking that work up, and really just starting from the if you like, from the ground level, in the hope that I could maybe take on bigger roles as we went along. And I was lucky enough to be able to do so. Yeah.
So as a novice, and I've spoken to other supporting actors, but I've always been curious. I would assume background would mean that you're just in the background. Walk on would mean kind of like where you
Yeah.
pass through the shot, and then featured
Mhm.
would be like what you did with Sanditon,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like you're more of a central part of the story. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
I think that's absolutely right. I think background work is a discipline in itself. It's basically allowing if you like, the director to actually set the scene, establish a shot, establish a scene, and background is incredibly important to that, because obviously, if you think of Sanditon walking down a street in 1810, 1820, as Sanditon was set, you wouldn't have an empty street. You'd have a street
Mm-hmm.
full of people coming and going and doing their thing, and that's where background adds a great sense of realism to any scene or to any shot that a director might want, and a production company might want. And then you have walk on, which is a little bit more than that, where you actually have a specific task within the scene or within the shot. And then featured is very close to being main cast, because you are normally a named character, such was Higgs in
Mm-hmm.
Sanditon. And also, as well, there is more opportunity perhaps to be given lines. And although I didn't have many lines in Sanditon, there was a
You
line or
did get
two
to announce
in
Babington.
season. Yeah, yeah. Milady, Lord Babington is here. Well, send him in, man. Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's really so that if you like, it's stages of up the or steps on the rungs on the ladder up to main cast. But the leap from featured to main cast is quite a big. There's quite a big gap there between the two, really,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously none of the parts below cast are actually cast by the casting director of a particular scene. It's all generally done by the support artist agencies. But yeah, you can get pretty close to being cast, and that's a good thing. So it's a great opportunity, really, for people to just get out there, do some work, get some experience. But one of the beauties of particularly coming from theatre, one of the beauties of having a background role is you get to see professional, experienced actors at work, and really you can't beat that. I mean, it's such an absolute privilege to see people at work that have of experience, that are good at their craft, are perhaps a little bit different and what have you. And over the years, over the last few years, I've seen quite a few astonishing actors do some astonishing things from a background position, which is great. And I suppose people pay thousands of pounds really to learn the things that we're getting for nothing, and we're being paid for it, and they give us free lunch most of the time. So, it couldn't be better, really. It's wonderful, yeah.
So how did your experience on Sanditon differ from your experience on Pol Poldock? Because you were a named character on
Mm.
Poldock also.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, that's correct. I auditioned for the role of Burkett, the
Mhm.
spy, in Poldark, and I came into season 5 of Poldark, and I think the main difference was Poldark, when I joined it as Burkett the spy, was very, very successful. The characters had already been established. The 5th season took on a little bit of a different tone and theme, because obviously it was the final season and we knew it would be the final season. But really, I think the challenge there was to fit in with what had gone before and make sure that you didn't deviate, although the years had moved on a little bit from season 4, that you
Mhm.
didn't deviate too much. But the cast and crew and all the people there were incredibly helpful, incredibly helpful. And I was actually cast a director's casting there. I sent in a self tape through my extras agency, and I was picked out from, I think, about a short list of 6
Yeah.
by the casting,
Impressive.
by the director Sally Abrahamian. And she was very kind when I came onto set. And I think what happened with the character of Burkett was, I was cast on the Tuesday and started on the Wednesday.
Oh
And I think
gosh.
I think what had happened was, speaking to one of the ADs on that particular production, I was told that on Monday, when they started filming for the week, the scenes for the week, I think, I'm not 100% sure, I think they realized that they didn't have an actor to play Burkett.
Oh God.
So they kind of scrabbled around a little bit. They
Mhm.
sent out the word to all the agencies, because obviously they could do it through the agencies rather than casting director. And on the Tuesday afternoon, the Tuesday evening of the next day, I was cast as Burkett the spy, and it was a great job. It really was. The cast on that were wonderful. Eleanor Tomlinson, was very helpful to me, and Jack Farthing, and yeah, it was just great. And Aidan Turner was very friendly and very helpful as well. But the character fit very well into the scenario and situation. He was a henchman for Joseph, the character of Joseph Mercer, and
Mhm.
Joseph Mercer was actually a real life character from that period, and he dominated the West End.
Mhm.
He controlled everything, and in today's terms, financially, he would have been a multi-billionaire, believe it or not.
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
so in control of that area, and I was his henchman. I was the guy that went out and got rid of
You
Ballantyne,
worked
and
for the nasty man.
I worked for the Nasties. Yeah, yeah, and it would have been great had that continued into a 6th season, because I would have liked to have seen how they would have taken that forward. But we had some great times on that, we really did. And then when it came to Sanditon, Sanditon was very much an open book, because, as you know, Jane Austen's novel Sanditon was
Was
just
on.
11
Mhm.
chapters, so there was a artistic scope for the actors in that to do really not whatever they wanted, but really be imaginative with the characters. And I think that that's what they did. I mean, I think it was astonishing what they did with that. But for me, it was a lot easier than Poldark, because I could basically make it up as I went along, which was great. And that's how I came about the character of Higgs in that particular season. But yeah, some tremendous support from the actors in that particular in
Speaking of
Sanditon.
making it up as you go along,
Yeah.
you knew I
Mhm.
was going to ask you this, that signature
Okay.
look that you do with the every time I see, yes.
Yeah.
Did you did you just arbitrarily make that up and
No, no, I
no?
didn't. No, it was. I'm a huge fan of Jeeves and Wooster, and my character was actually inspired by Stephen Fry's Jeeves.
Okay.
He had a very as I binge watched Jeeves and Wooster. I really like it, and he had a very upstanding character, Jeeves, but quite mysterious as well. And where did he come from in the beginning? Which agency sent him to work with Bertie Wooster, etc., what have you? And he has a very disapproving look, and
Hmm.
and the look I sort of tried to emulate, although I wasn't disapproving most of the time. I tried to emulate with Higgs, yeah, and that's where that came from. The character of Burkitt in Poldark actually came from Tom Hardy's Reggie Cray in Legend, and obviously both of them quite nasty people and what have you. And I tried to give Burkitt that edge
Hmm.
of nastiness about him, that kind of sort of half closed right eye look that he
Hmm.
had, and yeah, that's where they can. But no, he came from Stephen Fry's yeah, Jeeves, which I studied to a great
I
extent.
you did see you saw that in season one. Um, Almost every time that Tom Parker crossed paths with Higgs, you saw that look of like um I don't want to say suspicion, but almost like
Mm,
what is he up to now kind of expression
mm,
always appeared
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
Higgs's face.
We had a we I must say this, we had a great scene with Chris Marshall in the first season, because the Great Hall in the first season wasn't in season 2 and 3,
Right.
because we changed location. Quite a bit changed in 2 and 3 actually, because of the gap between season 1 and season 2. In
Right.
season 2 and season 3 were done at the same time. And we had a really good scene in that where his Tom Parker enters the Great Hall through the doors. I was known for opening and closing
In the
doors. That's
doors.
what I did a lot of that. And I remember one of the crew saying to me, we should do a spin-off called Higgs Opens Doors, where you go around the country opening and closing famous doors. And I said, yeah, that would be great if we could do that. And I remember the crew member said to me, well, I'm not joking. I would watch that. So okay, okay, but yeah, there's a scene where Chris comes into the Great Hall, and he barges past Higgs, right,
Hmm.
who's kind of a little bit shocked, that he's been barged past. And then they go on to have a conversation about Chris's plans, or Tom's plans for Sanditon, and it involves Dr. Fox, played by
Hmm.
Adrian Scarborough. And I stand in the hall, and there's just the three of us, and obviously the crew and everybody, and what have you. And they have this really strange conversation about Dr. Fox, which is spelled Fuchs. I've just hastened to add, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, because Anne Reid kept um, over pronouncing the doctor's surname,
Hmm.
and it sounded like something else. I don't know if you've ever watched this. It sounded like something else. And as I'm stood there, as they're doing that, they did 4 or 5 takes on this, and every time she did it, I don't think Chris Marshall realized it, but he kept dropping his lines, and then he was sort of wondering why. He was getting annoyed with himself. He was saying, come on, get this line right, and I knew why he was dropping his lines, because she was overemphasizing the surname of the good doctor. And I was just cracking up in the corner. I was stood there doing my Higgs thing, and I just really I just couldn't keep it together. And I thought, I really hope the camera doesn't catch me in the background on this one. Unfortunately, it didn't. But it was the funniest thing, and the way Annie did it was just. I think she was being a little bit playful with Chris at the time, but it was funny, really funny to watch. It was very good.
And another awesome scene in series one was when the pineapple arrives and you have the
Yeah.
gloves on and you open up the
Yes.
box
Yes.
and Lily's character Clara is like, is that a bomb? Like, how in the world did you keep a straight face through that?
That was a really funny day, that one. I arrived with all my fellow SAs that day. There must have been 20 of us, and suddenly the AD came along and said, "Right, okay, Mark, you're with me. We're doing this scene." So I went off mid breakfast. I hastened to, and we started setting up for this scene with the famous pineapple,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd set up in the middle of the great hall, and there's a table with the wooden box with a pineapple in the box, and my instruction was to very carefully remove this pineapple from the box and very carefully hand it to Lady Denham. Now, as I'm stood at the side of the table, they're stood in front of me, and so there's Lily
Mm-hmm.
and Annie, as it was. And so I picked this pineapple up, and we went through various, oh no, don't do it like that, do it like this. And we rehearsed it loads of times to actually pick this pineapple up properly. And then eventually they were happy with the way I was picking it up because it was precious cargo. I mean, it was something she'd had grown specially, and pineapples at the time were not common in England at that time. And she'd had it grown at the botanical gardens and what have you. So I pass her this thing, and then she looks at it with such a pleasure and joy
Mm-hmm.
that she has this thing, and this will really set her apart from everybody else. Lady Denham had a pineapple, and Lily's as Clara is incredibly confused, but looked really confused as well. And it was as though Lily, playing Clara, had never seen a pineapple before, which I thought was great acting. I really did. And she said, "Oh, is it a bomb?" And of course, then Lady Denham, Annie says to her, "Well, you stupid girl, of course it's not a bomb, you know what I mean?" But the way she said it, you know what I mean? It was incredibly condescending, but perfectly Lady Denham and what have you. And then, of course, she passes me the pineapple back, and I have to put the pineapple back in the box. But the camera, the DOP, director of photography, he wants a shot of the pineapple presented in the
Mm-hmm.
box, so I can't lay it down on its side. So I tried to put it on the white satin cloth that they had, but of course it would fall over. So eventually they had a sort of a meeting about this. How would they make this pineapple stand up? And they got a roll of tape, a big roll of tape, and they put the tape underneath the white cloth, so I could sit the pineapple in the tuff with a cloth, and that was the shot. And this took a long time to do this, but yeah. But the funniest thing about that scene was that we had a cast list for that day, and normally as an essay you don't get a cast list, you're just told where to be and where to go. But because I was in the scene with Lily and Annie, they gave me this cast list, and I said to Lily Sikowski, I said, "Can you believe that?" And on the list they have the order of characters, so and actors and what have you. And on the list, on the cast list, it said Anne Reid, Lily Sikowski, Pineapple, Mark Jackson. And I said to Lily, I said, "I can't even get top billing over a pineapple, a
Pineapple.
piece of fruit." And she thought it was very funny. And but there it was on the, I think I have it somewhere actually. There it was, the pineapple and then Mark Jackson. So, yeah, but that was an amazing scene, and it was very funny. And the way they delivered those lines, and Lily's confusion, Clara's confusion at this strange fruit that she'd come across was just excellent. It took a while to do that, actually, to get that right, and to not actually, sort of snigger. But as you notice in that, I'm not in shot most of the time. My face is not in shot. And again, I was kind of trying to look away from Annie and Lily whilst I was doing that, because I didn't want to make them laugh while I was
Mm-hmm.
doing the scene,
Mm-hmm.
because it was. But yeah, we were sort of in the middle of the Great Hall, surrounded by about 30 or 40 people with this pineapple, and it was a great day. It was a great day.
You
I,
did
I
an
love this.
excellent job. You handled it like it was an infant. And
Indeed, yeah.
you were
Yeah,
able, as a fan, I just burst out laughing with
yeah, it's
with
a great
that.
scene.
And when um when they're leaving after has been cut open and it was all full of and she is yelling at Tom about the way that
Yes, yes,
Arthur had handled her pineapple. I
yes,
just, like,
yeah.
I laughed through that entire thing. It was just absolutely amazing. I
Oh, that was
just
great.
that was
Yeah,
hysterical.
it
Um
was great. It was really good, really good.
yeah. Now, in series two, you were featured quite a bit in series two also.
Yes, yes.
And you had that signature look on your face when everybody was entering into the garden party.
Yes, yes. Oh,
Was
that was amazing.
was
Yes.
that a long day?
It was quite a long day. Quite a few of them were actually, and we had a lot of my fellow essays were there, and we got together, and we were when we were in our own green room, as it were. We were had some good talks. We shared cake and things like that. Obviously, it's a really really nice day, and of course in that one there were two footmen, because you got the evil footman,
Mhm.
the one that
The
steals the
one that was
letters.
taking the bribes, yeah, the
Yeah,
mail,
yeah. So
yeah.
I'm working off him at that
Mhm.
point as well, because obviously there has to be a sort of a distinction between the pair of us. So there were certain tasks that I had to do. There's a scene. I think it may have been on one of the trailers actually, where the camera comes through the arch at the beginning, and Higgs is to the right with
Mhm.
drinks. And originally that was set to be the other footman. They used to call him the evil footman. But then I thought, well, I can't really do that, because obviously there is a downfall to this character during the course of season two. So we switched around. So there's quite a few things that I did there. But I also on that day got to meet a lot of new cast members as well that weren't in season one. People like Eloise Webb, who was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. I mean, she was 18 at the time, and such an accomplished actress. It's incredible, really. But it was a long day, but it's very enjoyable. And we had a string quartet as well playing in the background there. I don't know if you noticed that. And
Mhm.
those guys were very funny and very chatty and what have you. And that was really good as well. And a lot of sort of downtime with the cast and what have you, and particularly with Rose Williams, who's an incredibly friendly person, and but incredibly professional as well. But would always stop and chat to you and talk to you, which is very, very good, really good. And the whole cast were like that. There's not one amongst them that was too preoccupied to talk to you. It's great.
Mhm. Yep. So I mean, through all three series, you and Annie Reed worked closely together, obviously, because there was a lot of interaction between you and Annie.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you're the only supporting actor that I've spoken to that was in all three
Mm.
series.
Yeah,
So you got to work with um a wider cast of
yeah,
main
yeah,
characters than
yeah.
anybody else that I've
Did,
spoken
yeah,
with. So, and
yeah,
everybody says the same thing, that the
mm,
cast was amazing. They were friendly. They were,
yeah,
professional. They were, they were just
yeah,
wonderful
yeah,
to work with.
yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So, was there anybody I would assume that it would be Anne, because I've heard about some of the things that Anne has done. But who would you say from each series that you were in was the funniest, the most entertaining, but behind the scenes?
I have to say Anne Reed, throughout the whole three. And we became quite friendly during those three seasons, as well. And she was just so. It was a pleasure. Firstly, it was a pleasure to watch her work. And she would often stop a scene or a take and what have you, and suggest something, which was great to see. That obviously her years of working in TV and film, and particularly around the comedy moments, the light-hearted moments, she's very very good. And we had some really amazing. I'll give you a story actually about Annie, which is it was the day of my daughter's examination results, what we call GCSEs here. And my daughter it was results day, and it was one Thursday, and we were working down at Badminton House. And the day before, I had the great pleasure of meeting James Bolam for the
Hmm.
first time. And again, was marveled at the way he worked. And I was very, very taken as well as a spectator, to see the relationship develop between James and Annie's characters, which I think was the sweetest thing. It really was. It was great. It was great to see. And it was the day of my daughter's examinations, and I saw Annie in the morning when we came in. We called quite early. It was about 7 a.m. and I'd come across Annie, and I said to her, "Oh, I said it's a really stressful day for me today." I said because my daughter's getting her examination results today, and obviously that depends. However, she wants to go on to film school, and he said, "Oh, you must let me know how she gets on. You know, catch up with me during the course of the day." And at about 11 o'clock, we were in the great room from the second season at Badminton House, and they were setting up, and there was about probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 people in the room. There was a crew there. Annie was there, and the director that day was Charles Sturridge,
Okay.
a very, very renowned director. And Annie was sort of looking out the window, killing time. And I went over and I said, "Oh, Annie," I said, "really good news." I said, "My daughter got her exam results today." And she said, "Oh, right. How did she do?" I said, "Well, she got 6 A stars and 4 A's." And Annie said, "Oh, that's marvelous." She said, "Oh, you must tell her well done from me, and buy her a bar of chocolate on your way home, and tell her it's from me." I said, I will do that." And then she called across the entire length of the room to the director of Senator, bearing in mind I'm a walk-on character, and she shouted across the room, she shouted, "Charles, Charles, come here, come here." And of course, he rushed over thinking there was something wrong, or maybe the script was wrong, or maybe she'd had an idea or something, or maybe there was a problem, or with something like that. And then when he came over, he said, "Yes, yes, Annie." And she said to me, she said, "Mark, tell Charles what you just told me." And I thought, oh my God, oh my goodness. I said, "Well," I said, "my daughter got a GCSE results today." And she got and Charles said, "Oh, you must be very proud." And I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this." I said, "Yeah, I'm very, very proud." And then he told other people in the room, and people kept coming up to me, the best boy, the gaffer, the DOP, and, "Oh, tell your daughter well done. That was really good." And then Lily Sikowski caught up with me in the corridor, and and she was on her way to her green room, and she said, "Oh, tell your daughter well done." And Lily was great because on the beach scenes from the first season where we were
Mm-hmm.
walking across the beach, I'd actually, because she has a Mancunian accent. She's from Manchester, believe it or not. You would never detect that. And I said, "Oh, you're from Manchester?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "And are you a City or United fan?" And she said, "Oh, no. I'm a Leeds fan, a Leeds United fan." I said, "Oh my goodness," I said, "I am as well." So we used to talk about football quite a lot, and the football team, and what have you, and that was great. And I had some programs that I gave her from some of the matches. And we're actually going to see Lily Sikowski. She's performing in Richmond in Uncle Vanya in April. I think so. We're going to see it in April, and that's Trevor Nunn is the director of that one. So we're quite looking forward to seeing that. And yeah, so maybe hopefully catch up with her again. But yeah, she's absolutely great. But I think Annie was great. Jack Fox was amazing. We seem to spend a lot of time together, stood behind doors, and I would open the door. I would open the doors, and he would come in. So we used to chat while we were waiting behind these doors, particularly at Badminton House. About he used to do sort of exercising, running, and I did a bit of running as well. And he'd say, "How have you been this weekend?" And we chat about this and what about brother. And then there were quite a few scenes where in the Orangery
Mm-hmm.
Badminton House where I would be serving them and what have you, and he would be involved in those as well. And I talked to him, but most of them really. And I used to talk a little bit to Charlotte Spencer because I was very, very impressed with watching her in season one, because I think that her character, that the character of Esther there, she started. I thought at the beginning when I first met her in season one that she was just a very cold person because
Mm-hmm.
she was being Esther. But if you look at the way she transforms Esther from being a very cold person, the scene on the beach where I wish I never came to Sanditon. I wish I regret it and what have you. The scene, I think it's with Rose, isn't
It's
it?
with Rose. Mm-hmm.
And then if you take the scene with Babington in the carriage driving down the beach where she's smiling and laughing, you think, my goodness, what an amazing actress to take that character so subtly from being I'm not interested, etc., to being totally in love with Babington. And you could tell that she was in that scene. So yeah, but she quite humorous as well, particularly with the instructions around passing her things like letters and silver trays and things like that. You know, oh, make sure I can get hold of it. I'm wearing gloves and things like that. But all of them were absolutely fabulous. Yeah, fabulous. And I was very fortunate. I managed to speak to most of the cast, and obviously enjoyed the company of quite a lot of the crew as well, the ads and everybody really. So yeah, it was a great team. It really was.
Hmm. I've heard fabulous things. As a fan, we I don't know about others, but for us, the character of Vesta, like in the beginning, where she was where she was cold and
Yeah.
not very pleasant,
Mm.
as it went on, maybe as females, we could see the manipulation
Mm.
happening
Mm.
with the
Mm.
Jack Fox character with
Yeah.
Edward. And then she kind of, I think for us, Babington kind of pulled her out of that.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
despite
Yeah.
her,
Yeah.
because she fought it for a while, but he
Yeah.
he
Yeah, she
definitely
did.
wore her down.
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene of the two of them was when they were on horseback and
Mm. Yeah.
they were they were coming off, and he um helped her off of the horse, and she had that smile on her
Mm.
face. And then Edward kind of got his claws back into her, but
Mm.
thankfully in the end she
In the end, it
was,
works
for
out.
us it
Right.
was like she
Yeah.
did an amazing, absolutely amazing
Mm.
job.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, she
everybody
did.
did an amazing job.
Incredibly skillful
Yes,
what she did there.
yes.
And it was only, I watched it back quite a few times, and it was only really, I noticed that. But I remember in season two, it was actually one of the garden party scene actually, where that was her last day. It was Charlotte's last day, and I actually managed to speak to her at that point, and I said, what an absolute privilege and honor it was to see her work. And she said, oh, thank you so much for saying that. And she sort of gave me a hug. And when I
Oh,
first met her in season one, I used to keep away from her because, but I realized now she was actually in character. She was
mhm.
actually creating this character, and that character, as you say, through the love of Babington, he sort of chipped away at it, and eventually they fell in love with each other. And I think it was a great story, that the way that progressed. And of course, in the third season, with Clara's baby.
Mhm.
That again, when she reveals herself at Sanderton Park, Charlotte, myself, and Annie were involved in that, and of course you have the scene in the lobby area next to the great stairs, where they suddenly realise that she's pregnant, and she announces it's, sorry, it's a spoiler, this isn't it? She announces it's Edward's, and
Right.
that was a great scene as well. And that there's a point at which Annie's character, Lady Denham, says to Higgs, basically throw her out, and I sort of look at Charlotte, at Esther, to say, does she really want me to do that? The woman's pregnant. And I thought it was a great scene, that actually. And I think it captured the moment very, very well. And I remember the end of that scene where you realise she's pregnant, and she bellows out, "It's
It's
Edward's."
Edwards. Hmm.
And one of the crew actually, as they cut there at the end of that scene, he did the theme music from EastEnders, the dum 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 dum. That was really, and everybody just sort of cracked up at that point. It was really funny. And but it was a very, very, very good moment, that, and it's so well acted by Lily, and Charlotte, and Annie. I say it's just a pleasure to be in the room with them, to see them do that. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yep, they did amazing, and
Oh gosh, yeah.
that's why we love it so much,
Mm.
we want to see more of it. That's obviously why, because there are very few series
Yeah.
that come along that capture audiences the way that Sanditon did for so
Mm.
many of us.
It did.
Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about um series three, episode
Mhm.
one, when you are
Yeah.
standing out in the garden,
Yeah.
joyfully posing down
Yes.
Edward
Yes.
Denham.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
How
That.
long did it take And how did you make it through that? Both of you, because he said
That
it was
was
cold in an interview.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, I occasionally email Jack Fox, and we do speak. And I did comment to him how much how popular that scene was, and how much traction it had received on social media. And he agreed. He thought it did, and he thought it worked really well. But I believe I'm right in saying the actual setup for that originally wasn't supposed to be Higgs hosing him down. And I hope I'm right in saying this. I think that originally they had another SA come in, who was a worker on the estate, and that was played by a guy called Bruno Darbo, and he was a great guy. He really was. And we were chatting and what have you. And I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but you meet such interesting people on set, and Bruno was no exception. And he was the he was the brother of Olivia Diabo, the actress,
Oh my goodness.
and the
Mhm.
son of Mike Darbo, who of course we know wrote the Rod Stewart hit Handbags and Glad Rags. I'm sure Bruno won't mind me saying this. And I was just fascinated by his story, and I thought it was great. And he was such a lovely man. He was such a really nice man. And he was, I believe I'm right in saying, he was actually due to do the hosing. But I think the director or the first AD thought it would be funnier if Higgs in his Footman outfit did it. So originally I was going to be stood next to Annie as Lady Denham, Adrian Scarborough as Dr. Fuchs, and the three of us would be stood, and I would be waiting on Lady Denham. But they thought, well, no, actually, if we get Mark to do this as Higgs, that would be really good. So we set up. We took some time. Now, Bruno and another chap, and I'm sorry I don't know his name. They were manning the pump at the side. There's a hand pump. Both each took one side and they pumped it up and down. And the inference was that the water came from the pump and to the hose that I was carrying, this big leather hose thing. And what they'd done is they'd set up a water supply, which is a warm water supply, which came through this pump, through the hose, and then exploded out at the end of the hose, and I fired it at Jack. But the problem was it was a bitterly cold day. It was really cold. And by the time the warm water got to the end of the hose, it was cold. So I was firing cold water at Jack. And to Jack's left, there was a camera set up. So to my right, the camera was set up and what have you. And I'm holding this thing, giving it the Higgs pose. And so I said to Jack, I said, who was wearing that, as you see, he was wearing those the Hessian shirt and things, what have you. And Lady Denham and Dr. Fox are looking on. And I said, how do you want me to do this? Do you want me to just sort of fire the water at your chest? Because he had quite a blast on the thing.
Mhm.
He said, no, just go for it, go for it. I said, but what if I hit you in the face? He said, that's fine. That's fine. So we ended up, I sort of hit him here. So it spurted up across his face. And I said, are you sure about that? He said, yeah, fine. Let's just see how it goes. And so that's what I did. So I really went for it and made sure that this thing, and all my arms got soaked, my gloves, I kept them to change them. And then they rushed out and they wrapped Jack up and things and what have you. And then we had to do it again. So he had to sort of change into the dry stuff. It was really cold and what have you. But he did it, and I think the result was tremendous. I think it really was, and it does get a lot of comments, that scene actually, and I really enjoyed doing it as well. And I remember at the end of the day when we were leaving for the transport back to base, and Annie said to me, "Well, a bit of a dull day for you, really." I said, "Not really." I said, "It's not every day you get to hose down a fox." I said, and that's exactly what I did today. I said, I'm quite proud of myself. And she said, "Oh, I suppose there is that. Yes, yeah. But yeah, it was a good day, albeit very cold. But yeah, what a scene that was. It was great, wasn't it?"
As fans, vicariously through you, through Higgs, we were all immensely satisfied seeing after everything that he had
Yeah,
done
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
for
yeah.
Esther in series 3. He
Yeah,
definitely, we felt he deserved
yeah.
that.
Yeah, he did. I think he did. I think he did. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, and Higgs was carrying out Lady Denham's instructions, and obviously anything Lady Denham said to Higgs, he would do to the letter. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
hangs on every word Lady Denham
Right.
says to him. He really does. But yes, that
To
was a
that
very.
end, did you create a background? Like, did you create background for
Yeah,
the Higgs
yeah,
character?
yeah. I did. I did. Higgs is been in service the whole of his life for the Denham household. He started. His mother was Mary Higgs, and Mary Higgs came into service as a scullery maid actually with Sir Harry. Which was Lady Denham's second husband, which is where she got the title from. But quite scandalously, at 16, Mary became pregnant. Obviously, an illegitimate child with John Higgs, which is my character. But very strangely, and it wasn't the thing at the time. Mary remained in service um, with Sir Harry's household, which was very rare at the time for that to happen. Unfortunately, she passed away when John Higgs, or Higgs, was about 5 years old, and he remained in service, looked after by the downstairs, if you like, the household downstairs.
Hmm.
Um, and so there was always some question as to why Mary was allowed to stay in service, having had an illegitimate child, fallen pregnant at 16, and why Higgs, John himself, was then, after the death of his mother, cared for by the household. And indeed, with the introduction of Lady Denham, was actually then taken on to Sanditon House and remained in service with Lady Denham after the death of her second husband, the title Lord Sir Harry. So there's always a yeah, that's the backstory
Speculation
behind
as to who the baby daddy is.
who is the baby daddy. Yeah, that's the question. That's the question. I mean, I remember once in season 1, as you enter the Great Hall, there was a huge portrait of Sir Harry over the thing there, and I was talking to this about this situation with Kate Ashfield about backstories and things because she was Tom Parker's wife, as you know.
Hmm.
And I remember commenting to her, or she said at the time, she said, "Don't you think you look like that portrait there of Sir Harry?" And I said, "Yeah, I suppose I do, really." But anyway, probably don't. But no, I mean, yeah, that's the backstory I created around Higgs. He's a single man. He never married and never had children himself, and remained in the service of Lady Denham, and is absolutely devoted to Lady Denham. And he there was some comment about the evil footman in season 2 and why Higgs didn't deal with that situation. But Higgs has been around a lot of time. He worked his way up basically from stable boy to head footman at Sanditon with Lady Denham. And I always say that in the end, the conspiracy there, the stealing of the letters, was exposed, and Higgs allowed that exposure to happen without intervening. He was intervening, but in a very surreptitious way. So, and that was Higgs's way. Higgs is basically to serve Lady Denham, to do her bidding at any point. But I think secretly that Lady Denham and John Higgs knew what was going on there, and just I think in the end Sir Edward was hung by his own petard there, as they say. But, yeah. Yeah. Oh, he knows. John Higgs. He knows a lot. He really does. And him and Lady Denham, they're hand in glove. They really are. And she's quite strict with him at times. The scene where he comes in with Babington and he says, "My lady, Lord," and she says, "Yes. What is it?" You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's not. She's not being nasty with him, but it's just the way she is with most people. There was a lovely scene which never made it actually, where she falls ill in the Great Hall in season 1, and Charlotte, Esther, is attending to her and calls me over to come and help, you know what I mean? And I grasp her hand and gently rub the back of Lady Denham's hand, of Annie's hand, and what have you, which was a really lovely moment, actually. And you would wonder, would anything less than someone that knew her very well would do that? And indeed, he would. Unfortunately, he didn't make it off the cutting room floor. It ended up on the cutting room
That's
floor.
too
But that,
bad
that,
because that
that
would
was
have
a
been,
nice scene. That
yes.
was a nice scene, that, and would have added to the backstory I've just gave you as well. But no, he does look upon Lady Denham Higgs, looks upon it as a mother figure. He really does, because he didn't have a mother of his own. He can't remember his own mother because she died so young. But yeah, that was the backstory.
Okay.
And
So
no, we need to contact the writers there and tell them about that. I mean,
yes,
what's
yes.
these,
And we
what's these,
need, we've been begging for outtakes for things that didn't make it. We have been begging for those.
yeah.
I think that, you know, they're missing a golden opportunity here not to
I,
release
yeah,
release
I
that.
can see lots of opportunities, and the writing is so good in these 3 seasons as well,
Mhm.
and the relationships between the characters was so skillfully done. I think that absolutely wonderful. I really do, and I personally would love to see more of it. I really would. I think it would be great.
Yes, yes, and that's what we're fighting for. We definitely
Oh,
want to see
good,
more
good.
of
I'm
it.
glad to hear that. Great, yeah,
We're
we
not
need
going
to
to
see more.
stop until they're like, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that you're going to get
Yeah,
anything,
yeah, yeah,
and then at
absolutely.
that point we'll stop.
Mm.
I wanted to ask you, just to get away from Sanditon for a minute, New Anthem Theatre.
Yes,
Do you want to
yes.
tell us about New Anthem Theatre?
Yeah, it's quite a new company. It was established in 2022 in Oxford, in England. And New Anthem Theatre Group is it's a company that advocates new writing. It's we form a production company now around new writing and new work, and then we take it out on the road or into the theatres in Oxford, and we produce that work in the theatre. New Anthem Theatre Group is for all those people that struggle to gain work or parts or acting roles in other areas. Our philosophy is that if you want to give it a go, if you have a desire to want to act or produce or do lighting, do sound or whatever in the theatre, we will do our very best to facilitate that desire and turn it into reality. So, for instance, we have a play which we're currently performing in April, and it goes to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in August. And that play is called FUFC. And it's a play that it's a 2 character play. And I'm going to be in it in April as one of the characters. But the other guy who's going to be in it, he's never acted before. And he came to me and he said, I like the play. I like the character. I really would like to give this a go. And I said, right, okay, you're in. He said, do I need to audition? I said, no. And this is the way we work, really. You come along with a desire, and we'll hopefully fulfill that desire. And he will be performing at the Burton Taylor Studio in April, this play, FUFC. And that's the type of person we're looking for. Perhaps a person that wouldn't get an opportunity elsewhere because they didn't go to drama school, or they have a lack of experience, or in this case, no experience at all. And I have to tell you, this guy is absolutely fabulous in this role that he's undertaken. He really gets it, and he does all the things that you'd expect a seasoned, experienced actor to do as far as stagecraft is concerned. It seems to come naturally to him. And there are just so many people out there that just require that one opportunity. So many essays, fellow essays that I meet, I mean, there's such talent there, but there generally isn't the outlet unless you're lucky.
Hmm.
to actually take on roles or parts or whatever it is that you want to do. So that's the purpose of New Anthem Theatre Group. Really, is just to really promote new talent and new writing and new work. We don't do anything that and any plays that are not written by the group. FUSC was written by the group, and it's a great play. And we're taking it to the Fringe in August, which we're very, very excited about. We can't wait for people to see it. And then next year, we're taking it to Bradford, because Bradford in West Yorkshire is the City of Culture 2025. So we're going to take it there as well. And then we'll move on to other works that we have in the pipeline by our group members. And there's such talent out there as well. And we hope that this provides an outlet for that talent. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what New Anthem Theatre Group is. And we're enjoying it. It's very, very good.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. My grandson, actually, my oldest grandson, does sound in high school right now for the high school
Really?
plays that they're doing.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it'd be amazing if they had stuff like that in the
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think that personally for me is going back a few years now to doing theatre work and what have you. I found that the best part of being in theatre is the being in that space. It's just being in that, particularly when you're in that space with like-minded people who think. And it's a theatre thing, isn't it? That you know that you aspire to be an actor or a producer or just a production person in not just but a production person. And once you get those people together with a common interest, a common aim, a common goal, a common passion, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. We used to rehearse at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And I used to I used to get up at 5 a.m. and we'd go. This is because the theatre wasn't available during the
mhm.
day, and we'd be in there for 6 a.m. and you'd sort of walk in and you'd pass the billboards for the latest Netflix thing or what have you, or Now TV and what have you, and you'd buy yourself an egg sandwich on the way from the, and just walk into the theatre and be around people for most of the morning that were there for the same reasons that you were there. I just think there's no greater feeling, and you get that on set with when I meet fellow SAs and what have you. Everybody wants to be there just to be there.
Mhm.
There's not necessarily about being spotted or found or anything like that. It's just doing that job, and it is such a specific job, SA work, and it's not easy at times. I mean, we 150 to 200 of us last year. We did a Lucasfilm thing down at Pinewood. It was freezing cold. We were there for over 30 days, every day outside on this plaza that they built. I can't tell you too much because I signed an NDA,
Mhm.
and that was. You had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. You had to be there for 4 o'clock. You were wrapped at 7 p.m. And but you were there with people that although it was cold, although it was sort of blustery at times, and one day I think it snowed, they just wanted to be there and they enjoyed the experience, and that's what it's about. It's about the experience, and everybody should have a doorway into that experience, and that's basically what we hope New Anthem Theatre Group will do, to give people that opportunity to perform.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. I actually, one of the essays that I spoke with, Alana Southerton, she was, the, one of the housemaids for, um, series 2, episode 1, where, Binloy Hughes and the characters are they're coming back to
Yeah.
Hayrwick Park. And she had the skimpy little costume on, and they came out to greet the carriage. I spoke with her and John Ninnis, who was the footman there. And she said it was like they had bloomers on underneath and stuff because it was just freezing that day.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
and she said it was great because I mean, they loved, although it was cold, they loved every minute of it. And,
yeah,
as soon as the
yeah,
take was over, they would rush over with the big bulky coats and, they would wrap them up before the
yeah.
next take, but they wouldn't
Mm.
trade it for anything because
No,
they just loved
fantastic.
being there.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. And I say the people you meet, I have various WhatsApp groups with people that I've met on productions and what have you. And you share, one of the guys, his wife's just had a baby, and he shared that moment with us and what have you. And it's incredible. You do make some very, very good friends. And there's some great people. I haven't really, I don't think I've ever met any fellow SA that I didn't like, that annoyed me in any way, shape, or form. I've met one or two actors that haven't been too particularly
I'm sure
particularly
about
nice.
that.
Yeah, particularly nice. Fortunately, probably only a couple. And then again, you meet just meet some wonderful people, and sometimes with such interest. And because you get to sit for hours and hours on end with people, you develop these friendships and what have you, and you talk about anything, and the weather and the sun and everything really. And it's great. And some people's stories are so inspiring. I met one chap last year on the BBC drama Casualty, and his story, one of adversity, really inspired me in my writing actually. So you do meet people like that inspire you as well. But I go back to seeing the actors perform, seeing the professionals, actors perform, the experience that they bring to these situations. It's just awe-inspiring. It really is. And you can't get a better education than that, than seeing people. I say to the young people in our theatre group, you must see as much as you can. Go out to the theatre, see as much as you possibly can, even if it's just a village hall production or what have you. You have to immerse yourself in theatre. You have to every day almost consider it work, going out there, seeing people perform, seeing what's happening, and then I'll just watch a film, on TV, and stop the film occasionally and say, to whoever you're with, did that work? What did you think about that? How did that actor perform? What about this the shot there? What about the light? And just think about these things that you're seeing in front of you. And I think there's nothing better really than immersing yourself in the whole experience. And I say once you get into those spaces, those theatre spaces, and those TV studios and those sets and those locations, it's a wonderful world. It really is. And you get paid for it as well, which is even better.
Which is a bonus, which is
It's
a
a
fabulous
complete bonus.
bonus.
Yeah. I remember one guy saying to me, "Oh, I would do this for nothing." I said, "Please don't say that out loud." I said, "Because you probably will end up doing
Yeah,
it for nothing."
yeah.
No, I said, we have to get paid for this." Yeah.
That's, oh, that's too funny. That is too funny. So I had one more question about
Okay.
Sanditon. Series one was 8 episodes, and then
Yeah.
2 and 3 back to back.
Yeah.
They it was 12 episodes altogether.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for filming series one as opposed to 2 and 3?
Oh, it's 2 and 3 were relatively quick. I think we started in the January for season one, and I think it went on to the end of August, early September. Whereas we started in August with 2 and 3, and it was done by the 10th of December that year. So it
Wow.
was quick. It was really quick. And of course, as you say, they filmed them back to back. They filmed 2 and 3 together. And yeah, it was particularly quick, but they were very efficient in 2 and 3, the way they filmed it, even though there's quite a lot of scenes and storylines to develop there, and particularly for Rose and Ben, and obviously the whole introduction of really the army situation and the being billeted in the village and things what have you. So that was quite a story. And of course you've got the continuation of the Theo James story, the Parker story there, and of course Miss Lamb, and she was absolutely unbelievable. She was actually from Bergen in New Jersey, and she had a very a Jersey accent, but of course you would never ever guess that. Crystal's accent was immaculate in Sanditon, and I actually lived in North Bergen for about 6 or 8 months when I was a teenager with my aunt, and I said, "Oh, we're kind of neighbours." She said, "Where did you live?" And I told her, and she said, "Oh, that's not a very nice area, is it?" I said, "No, it wasn't. It wasn't very nice at all." I said, "No, it wasn't. I said it was fine." But yeah, so yeah, I thought Crystal Clark. I thought she was amazing the way she pulled that off, and it wasn't an easy role. That I don't think. I think you had the sensibilities around that, particularly these days, were quite strong, and but I think she dealt with it superbly well, and of course the writing helped a lot as well. But yeah, but
Took
no,
us on a
it was
real,
seasons 2 and 3 were quick. Yeah.
yeah, it took us on a real, her story took us on a real roller coaster
Oh,
uh
indeed.
ride, because from season one to the end of season three, she went through so much. She
Mm.
had so much to deal with, the prejudice of how she was treated, when they were laughing at her when she was trying to get onto the carriage to get back to London, when she
Mm.
said that she was an heiress, and they were just like astonished. And then the the way that they spoke about her, she was standing right there, but the way that they spoke about her in the court scenes, it was gut wrenching,
No, no,
to
yeah.
watch that. She did, yeah, she did an
I
amazing.
mean, in season one as well, with the introduction of Miss Lamb, Lady Denham's character was really just saw her money signs at that point. She was an heiress, and Lady Denham was absolutely fixated with how much people were worth, how much estates were worth, etc. And what have you. And of course, was very keen for Sir Edward to be partnered up with Miss Lamb because of her
Mhm.
fortune, and purely for that reason alone. And of course, at the pineapple scene, at the banquet scene, she was incredibly insulting to Miss Lamb at that point. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the Miss Lamb character, Crystal did a great job on that, really, to maintain that dignity through all intrinsic racism. Let's be honest,
Mhm.
and of course the suppositions that she perhaps wasn't an heiress, and obviously the attempts to alleviate her of her fortune as well. So,
Mhm.
but and again, you've got to admire the writing on that. It was very, very good. It really was. It was
It
excellent,
was.
excellent.
Yeah,
And
they didn't shy
considering,
away.
no, I think considering as well. I mean, there's a lot of criticism from season one about the nude scenes with Theo James, that wasn't very Jane Austen. But how do we know that? She only wrote 11 chapters of that book. That was her last piece of work. She didn't, obviously, she died soon after that.
Mhm.
We don't know that wouldn't have been in one. And you could say, the purists will say, Austen fans say to me, "Oh no, that wouldn't ever be in a Jane Austen novel, nudity in the sea and things like that, as Theo was." And of course, the running to the sea when they ran across the beach to bathe in the ocean, they took their clothes off and things and what have you. But we don't know that. We really don't know that. And there are clues and signs in Jane Austen's work that she may have progressed into that exploration of physical form more than she did in her previous works. We just don't know. So I find it difficult for people to accept the criticism that that's not Jane Austen like, because we just don't know that. And she wasn't. I mean, she wasn't. I mean, she died relatively young, didn't she, of an illness. So we just don't know where she would have gone with future novels. So I think that's a great part of Sanditon as well, because there's such an established following for Jane Austen. She's a classical author of her time, and indeed now as well. That it's fabulous to speculate where she might have gone with future works had she lived on.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the criticism. I know that scene set the internet on fire. So
Mm, yeah, it did, didn't it? Yeah, partly because
um,
it was Theo James.
yeah, they're just like,
Yeah, partly Theo James. Yeah, 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 yeah. He was. He
Mhm.
was. I never actually spoke to Theo James, just to say hello and what have you. But I did enjoy watching him work. The way he worked the character, I thought it was very, very good. And they all were, but there are moments from watching all of them. And the lovely thing about the character of Higgs is I got to be on set a lot of the time, even just in the background sometimes, doing my pout and my hands across my front there. But I got to see them all perform, and it was great. It really was fantastic. And then when you start looking at some of their experience and what they've done before, you just think, wow, it's great to see that all come together in the next job. I haven't worked with any of them since, actually. And of course, in season three, we didn't have Mark Stanley. And I was a big fan of Mark Stanley because we were both from Yorkshire, and I used to chat to him quite a lot. And of course, he didn't come back from 2 and 3 because he had
He was
busy
filming.
with other
Yeah.
work. He was filming other work, and a tremendous success that he's had as well, which was great. But again, to see the likes of Mark, and as I say, with Lily Sikowski, I'm a huge fan of Lily Sikowski. We're going to go and see her Uncle Vanya, Chekhov play, and I'm really looking forward to that. Particularly as we saw Andrew Scott do the Vanya adaptation recently, where he plays all the characters. And again, as an essay, I think I can speak for some of the essays. You always look at jobs and see who's in the cast, and then if it's someone you've wanted to see work, you really go for it. You get onto the agent, so please get me into this one, what have you. And I've done that a few times as well, and I've been very lucky that I've managed to see some great actors, Benedict Cumberbatch. Eddie Redmayne, Olivia Colman. Olivia
Oh
Colman
gosh.
was fantastic, and she actually, we were doing The Crown. Actually, I was in The Crown, and I was playing a policeman. It's set in 1964. The Queen would have been pregnant at the time with Prince Edward, so Olivia Colman was playing the Queen at that time. And there's a thing when you queue up for the food trucks, you have to give way for the cast and let them come to the front of the queue, and also the crew as well, because the crew are generally very busy and have to get back to. I noticed the crew tend to eat on set actually, rather than in the dining areas. So you have to let them get their food and get back to set and things, what have you. But as I stood in the queue, I turned and Olivia Colman was stood next to me, and she had rollers in, and they were doing her hair. And I said, "Oh my goodness!" I said, I said, "Hi, you must stand in front of me, obviously." And she said, "Oh," she said, "Don't be silly." She said, I've just sat doing, I've done nothing all morning. You've been working away your policeman thing." He said, "No, don't be silly." And then we started chatting and what have you. And she was absolutely fabulous. She really was, and such nice people, really, really nice people. And it's great to meet them, and to say we went to see. Um, um, the Letters thing with Jessie Buckley and Olivia Colman the other day, and Ben Miles was in it. I would recommend, that's a great film. And Ben Miles was in it, and I still get a kick. I did a Lucas film, and Ben Miles was on set, and I watched him perform. And then the BBC thing, The Capture, I saw him again in that, and just said hello to him. And Olivia Colman, I spoke to, and I said, as we were watching the film, I said, "I can't believe that I've met these people, And I had the great pleasure last year of meeting and actually speaking to, not just watching him work, Surya McKellen
Oh my
uh, in,
God.
in The Critic. And
I
as
think
I
I would
went back,
pass out if I
oh
had
my
met him.
goodness, and I've been such a fan of his, and Patrick Stewart as well. Again, one of
Ah,
my
Captain
theatre
Picard.
theatre. Oh gosh, yeah, one of my heroes actually. And as I went back to the hair and makeup, I was sort of the last person to go through, and he was sat outside his trailer, which was quite close to it, with his assistant, I think it was. And I couldn't resist. And so I just, as I went by, I said, "Oh, good day to you, Surya. And how are you today?" And he said, "I'm fine, dear boy." He said, "I'm absolutely fine." He said, "How are you?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "Have you had a good day?" I said, "I've had a great day." I thought, well, I have now because I've just spoken to Surya McKellen, and it's just, meeting people that like that. And all I say is, I'm sure, feel that way, and we always like it when the cast and the actors chat and what have you, and have a word for you. But then again, we're very, very respectful, because a lot of the time you have to be careful, because they could be running lines, they could be preparing themselves mentally for the scene and what have you. So you have to choose your moments, you really do. But when you do choose the right moment, it's an absolute joy to meet some of these people. Yeah.
It sounds like it. Oh my God, it sounds like
It
it.
is.
So, the only other Sanditon related question that I have for you is the different areas that you were privy to filming in. Obviously, you were at Lady Denham's.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that the garden party was filmed at a different location than um Sanditon House, and
It was, yes,
the
yes.
beach scene were, because so you were on the beach, you were Sanditon House, you were
Oh,
at the garden party.
yeah, yeah,
Was
yeah. The
that
beach.
an actual beach, or was that
That
the
was an
parking lot
actual
stage
beach.
actual
Yes,
beach?
that was called Brain Sands, and it was next to Western Supermare, which is probably the better known resort in that area. And we filmed in June, so it was cold. We sat on the beach, generally wrapped up, and there was a breeze coming off the sea, which was blowing sand into our faces. And we sat around a long time, and they had the cricket match, which I was there for the whole of that. And yeah, it was yeah, Brain Sands. That's where we did that. And occasionally we'd get people, dog walkers coming by, so we had to stop while they walked by and things and what have you, because we couldn't stop them walking down. It's a public beach, and it was a funny day. I have a story actually about Annie, if you'd like to hear that.
Absolutely.
Okay, we were sat on the beach, and if you can recall from season one, we had our own tent,
Mm-hmm.
and there was Lily and Annie and Charlotte were in there at times, and I sort of stood behind them and what have you. And of course, it was all stop start. It was cold, even though it was June. It was not supposed to be cold, but it was. And so they kept coming and putting sort of blankets around Annie, just to keep her warm. And they gave her a bag, which she had a pocketbook, if you like, on this side. And she said to me at one point, "Oh, do sit down. This could take a while. While they're setting up the cameras and whatever." So we started chatting, and we was talking about horse riding, because my wife teaches horse riding, and and she was saying that she'd never done horse riding, and would like to. I said, "Oh, you give my wife a call. I'm sure she would accommodate you." And she said, "Well, do you think I'm too old?" I said, "No, you're not too old at all. No." I said, "No, you can." I said, "Anybody take up horse riding?" She said, "How would I get on the horse though?" I said, "Well, we have mounting things and what." "Oh, okay." I said, "Maybe I will." She didn't, but she maybe will. So as we're talking, it was a chatting. I was privileged to be talking to her, to be honest. And she asked me if I wanted some chocolate, and I thought, wow, Anne Reid giving me chocolate. I thought, this is great. What a story to tell this would be. So I said, yeah, okay. So she rummaged around in a bag, and she gave me this bar of chocolate, which had been half eaten. Right, so it had the wrapper, and she gave me this chocolate, and I peeled the wrapper back, and it had gone a little bit white around the edges, so she'd had it a long time. So I said to Annie, I said, "How long have you had this chocolate?" And she said, "I know. I thought I'd never get rid of it." That's just a precious moment. It really was. And I think I still have it somewhere, actually. I didn't eat it, obviously, but I think I still have it somewhere in the house. And but yeah, she's like that all the time. She had such a wonderful sense of humor as well, and incredibly sharp with it as well. She really was. She never missed a moment. And I've been watching her in Dinner Ladies, and very famous BBC comedy. And I just think, again, you can appreciate how good she is, and how immaculate her timing is, and it's a joy to behold. It really is. But yeah, she was very funny.
Oh
Very
my
funny.
gosh. That's an
Mm.
amazing. That is that's definitely one for the books. I would frame that bar of chocolate.
Yeah, yeah, I think I will. Yeah.
That's great. So, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I don't want to manipulate your weekend for you. Other than the play that you have coming up
Yeah.
and the extra work that you did that you can't disclose to us, do you have
No, certainly
anything
not.
else that you have coming up that you'd like to share with us?
We have a Disney production coming up, which is advertised. So I can, again, I did sign an NDA for that one. And it's called A Thousand Blows, which stars Malachi Kirby, Stephen Graham, and that looks very, very exciting. That's coming up sometime this year. The Lucasfilm production is also coming out this year as well. So you'll see us in how cold we were, but that is a fantastic piece of work. It really is. I think people are
I
going
have
to
a
love
little I have a little guess in my mind as to what it is that's coming up. I
it.
won't say, but I have a
No.
little guess.
Mhm.
I'm a huge Lucas fan, but
Yeah.
I won't say anything.
Yeah, yeah, no, and yeah, you probably guess what it is, but and yeah, that I think that's going to be fantastic. I think it's really gonna, if it's possible to raise the bar on that franchise, I think this will. It really is that good. So looking forward to that, and I've got some work lined up for March. I'm in a BBC drama, and playing a immigration officer. So that's interesting. And then we're rehearsing at the moment for April, and then onto the Fringe in September. And then we have a small production company as well. And we do short films. We do Shakespeare shorts, and we're now this year going to film the fourth one, which is Act One, Scene One from King Lear.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that will be set in modern times. In a, if you're familiar with the scene, it's the one where Lear is if you like, carving up the kingdom with his three daughters, Cordelia, Regan, and Goneril, and gets less than a favourable response from Cordelia. So we set it in a modern boardroom that Lear becomes the head CEO owner of a huge multi-billion pound conglomerate, and his
Wow.
daughter worked for the company. A little bit Succession, but it's kind of along those lines. And last year we did at Macbeth, we did the Banquo ghost scene with a wonderful actor called Tom Eisted. Who's a fantastic actor, and we set that in the basement of a nightclub in Oxford, and so it was after hours, and the inference was that Macbeth and Lady Macbeth were sort of, if you like, local gangsters, if you like, controlling things,
Okay.
and with the sidekicks there as well, and that looked great. And the scene with the murderer when he dispatches Banquo and reports back to is just, and as I say, Tom Eisted, absolutely fantastic. And so that's what we do, and that's a company we have called, which is a spin-off of New Anthem Theatre, called Bit Bard Productions. And as I say, we create these short films, again, giving people the opportunity who have never been in TV and film just to experience, and we do it as professionally as we can, what it would be like to be on set, and how those disciplines apply to that medium. So yeah, it's we're looking forward to that. So busy year, but we're really looking forward to the play, taking it to Edinburgh and being at the Burton Taylor Studios. We can't wait to get it out there. It's going to be fabulous.
It sounds great. It sounds absolutely fabulous.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, I want to again thank you for your time today.
Right.
I really appreciate you speaking with me. Like I said, I wanted to speak to you for months. So
Thank you.
thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too, and thank you for speaking to me today. I appreciate it. And season four, we need a season four.
Season 4,
Season four,
yes,
Hamilton.
yes.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's get another petition.
Yeah, we have a petition.
Oh, you
I
do?
will
I
share
need
the
to sign it.
petition.
Thank
I
you.
will
Yes.
I will share the petition to you, and you can share it to anybody that you want to.
Well,
But
John Higgs, he's ready. He's ready to go.
I
He's
know he
ready to
is.
renew his relationship with Lady Denham. He
I
really
know
is.
he is.
He's in the wings there waiting.
That's awesome.
Thank you.